Welcome to the Your Peak Life podcast. Let's conquer the summit of life and reach the apex of our potential.
All right, welcome to another episode of Your Peak Life podcast. Today we're going to talk about humble beginnings. So when we talk about the leadership group or just the people in this room, I always say every single time, we are all completely different. But one of the things that we have in common is we all have come from humble beginnings and we want more out of life.
Eric said he ain't come from humble beginnings, bro.
Yeah, right.
I'm definitely not affluent either, though, so we're good.
So what does that make you?
Middle class?
Middle class?
Yeah, you're emotional.
Stop.
So somewhere,
Here we go.
somewhere in there,
Shit talk
you got humbled.
immediately.
You always tell your story about your grandpa.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Which one?
IHOP or
Yeah, tell me to.
Oh, yeah. That's, I guess that
I mean,
would
I
be
guess that's
helpful.
a dose
it's
of humility. That's a
you
dose
bring
of
it up
humility.
enough to where there's a point in your life.
No, it is. It was like that. It was that point where it's like get off the shit, shit or get off the pot
Yeah.
in your life type of deal.
He just sparked it. He was the
He sparked
catalyst.
it. That was the. I guess he just threw the match in the fire, and went from there. Really.
Yeah, and then Andy was a fucking sexy Home Depot model. Look him up.
Damn, he bringing
That
up
wasn't,
all he took going
that
back
was-
to the roots on everybody.
No, that wasn't humble. That was
That
being
was not
cocky.
humble. That's just me.
But even looking
Look at
back,
me
when
in the
was
store.
that, bro? That was a while ago now, right?
So that started like 2013,
13?
yeah, 2014.
Over a decade ago.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. And the only reason that opportunity came about was because I left real estate,
Yep.
moved back to North Carolina, in with a friend of mine who worked for the photography studio that like Home Depot contracts with or whatever. His whole job was to build sets. His girlfriend was one of the people that selected other models or whatever. So it was like I was working in a pizza shop doing a Home Depot shoot like once every
Wow.
couple of weeks.
But he was a real
Bro, and was
a pizza
making
shop manager,
and was making
a
more
model.
money doing the Home
All
Depot stuff.
simultaneously.
I was making more money doing Home Depot stuff than I was running the pizza shop, but it wasn't consistent. It was just like, hey man, we need a white guy with a beard tomorrow. Are you available? I'm like, all right, cool, because that was pretty much the criteria at the
that's
time.
great.
It's like put on jeans, put on work boots, and put on a flannel.
It's
All
just
white guys
funny,
with beards
though,
look the same after that.
Because you had already done construction and sold houses, so it actually it fit too. That's
Believe it or
weird.
not, bro, that actually hurt me when I did that because like I know how to hold a nail gun. In real life, that's not how you hold it for a photo shoot.
Oh, so it was harder.
Yeah, they were like, "No, what are you
'Cause,
doing?"
like,
And I'm
faking,
like,
you're
"This is how
actually-
you do it." And they're like, "No, turn your head a little bit and take your finger off the trigger." I'm like, "What the fuck am I doing here?"
That sounds dangerous.
it was
my guy.
interesting.
No, and then Edwin was, remember
It's a
your
photo
story?
shoot, not practical use,
Yeah.
right?
You always bring up how you were
Damn,
the guy that would
that's
open and close the fire hydrants in New York for like summertime.
I'm from New Jersey.
You never went over the bridge, bro.
Not really, bro. We didn't have money to go to New York City.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to pay a toll to go on George Washington Bridge or the Turnpike.
And that's not
Or
happening.
That's not. It wasn't in our family budget.
Not in the cards.
You know what I'm
fair.
saying?
That's fair.
And I mean, really, North Jersey to go to New York City, there's really no difference. So it's like, why
Would people
go there?
from New York agree with you?
I mean, from the perspective of, I mean, North Jersey and New York is very much
Very similar, right?
very similar. Yeah. At least where I'm from in North Jersey, 5-10 minutes away from New York City.
What's the time frame that you're growing up there, popping open the fire hydrant to play in the water? Because they don't do that no more. You know
Wow.
what I mean?
So I was born in 78. So from them,
Damn.
So 80s, I would say late 80s to early 90s was my era. You know what I mean? Of running the streets and doing all those things and
Yeah, I saw some of those throwback pictures yesterday.
yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
Man, Edwin with hair, bro.
Everyone with hair. For real.
When he showed
yeah,
up.
not
that's
just
your
hair.
That's a
brother.
dude I've never
He
known.
had the ball fade with the slice with the
Of course he did.
right.
Of course he did.
He's
I
from
had a
Jersey.
regular Puerto Rican haircut.
You know what's old? when
Standard
it's like
issue.
A vintage camera that took the picture.
Yo.
Well, it's not
you
a,
put,
like,
put the hood on their head. And,
The pictures are fragile.
you got to take
to
the Polaroids
touch.
and take a picture of the Polaroid.
Yeah, but so I grew up in a basement apartment, and I was talking to someone yesterday, and that's kind of normal.
I think that was me. Because there's basements in Ohio. I
Yeah,
mentioned a lot of
it's
time
like a-
I spent in the basement.
Yeah, but that's a normal thing in Jersey. Like to have a basement apartment, it's like an apartment. It's just smaller.
Yeah, it's like a second house, bro. You could put a bedroom, you could put a living room, you could put a gym, all just in your basement.
Yeah. Well, we lived in the basement, then the first floor was renting out, second floor was renting out, and then the attic was also rented out. So
Real city shit.
yeah, real city stuff. And one of my buddies came down a couple months ago. He owns a brokerage in New Jersey, and he reminded me, he's like, yo, he pulled up to my house. He goes, damn, Snoop, because they used to call me Snoop in Jersey. I remember I used to have to knock on the basement window to come holler at you, and now I'm pulling up to this. And I never thought about it till like that's when really kind of like, damn, that's right. But it was normal. I grew up. I always tell people I'm just a regular, normal person that grew up in the city. Like I don't think I was any poorer or better off. Or I mean, nobody's father was really around, right? Most people lived in like those types of 2-family houses that have converted to 3 or 4 family houses, and everybody kind of faced the same struggles. But I don't think I never had my lights cut off. You know, we had to move a couple times, but I never missed a meal. I had Jordans. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't have. I come from humble beginnings, but I don't have a lifetime story. I was just regular Puerto Rican poor.
Yeah, but
Regular Puerto Rican
See,
poor. What does that even mean?
it's like everybody else, I guess.
I mean, when
But-
you're in a neighborhood that everyone else is poor, right? You don't know anything else.
So I have constantly found myself, and comparison is not the right word, but I look at what Mike's background looks like. Like I know everything that he came through, and I look at that and I say, okay, Mike has a true like rags to riches, came from nothing, hit the bottom, fought the government. Like it's a great story, and I'm looking at myself and I'm like, damn, my story is like nowhere near as compelling as that.
But you have one.
But I have one.
know
You're
what I'm
right.
saying?
And what I've identified in doing this like kind of self reflection is like, no, I didn't have a tough childhood. Like where I was the youngest kid, my parents didn't give a shit what I did. They gave me whatever I wanted. I did whatever I wanted to do. I never got in trouble. Like all my friends, we would all skip school together. They would all get suspended, and I would get away with it. I was always just the fortunate one, essentially.
You
My
feel that way
struggles
about the Navy too?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
He said,
bro.
"Oh,
Like,
yeah."
Oh yeah. I played the shit out of that game. But even in the Navy, I was the fortunate one. Like to be able to do the things that I did in the short time that I was there, like it just works that way. But my struggles did not come as a child. My struggles came as an adult. Like I went through rock bottom. I went through the periods where my lights got shut off and I couldn't afford to, feed my kids. And like I went through those struggles as an adult. And that's kind of what I look at when I look at where he's from and what he's gone through and what you guys have all gone through. We were low middle class. My dad was a truck driver. My mom worked in a factory, like sorting clothes for VF, I think is what the company was called, or Wrangler. Like, and that was it. Like she would go in early to work overtime to pay for my baseball shit, but I didn't have a struggle. I had everything that I wanted until I became an adult. And mom and dad were no longer there, and then I struggled.
I would still consider that humble beginnings, though. At least their example to you. If you look at what they were doing to provide for their family, right? I mean, everybody starts somewhere.
Yep.
And I think I was at my book club the other day, and somebody was like, basically that, I'm not special because these things happen to me. And I said, no, man, I highly disagree with you. I think that those are the exact reasons that you're special. And he was mind blown.
Well, okay. So turn that back around. There are, I don't know numbers, but I'm sure there's a large portion of the population that's just like me, that didn't struggle as a kid, that had everything they wanted. Like my dad was, hypothetically, like, oh, my dad was a lawyer. I could go to any school that I wanted, and then I fell into coke problems, right? Like everybody has has their struggles, and a lot of people have it as adults as well. So like that's cool to kind of think about. That everybody's story has a story.
Oh, for sure.
Well, even in the perspective of like our children, right? Or everyone's story is relative to their own struggle, right? What we face as adversity, right, is different in every single person. Someone could grow up in a middle class home and have a mother and father, but still face adversity into them
In life.
That's the biggest struggle for them.
Of course.
So, I mean, everyone has that. Well, most people that have done this at some point, when you're operating at a high level, something triggered you to take whatever you're doing to the next level. In most cases, whether that is adversity as a young child, whether it is, falling on your face from mistakes that you happen as an adult. You know what I mean? Because even in the Navy, I think when I think of struggle, as I heard Andy, I would 100% say I struggled more as an adult than as a child.
Okay.
Yeah, because
I guess that's where I'm opposite, where I'm like, my childhood kind of prepared me for everything that I've experienced as an adult. That's how I feel when anything happens. This is nothing. We got it. It's no problem. And I know a lot of people don't really know about Edgar's beginnings, but I think, no, seriously, that's what we're here for, right? But I think that you do have something similar to me in a facet of how you grew up and what your relationships were like with your parents.
I don't talk about it a lot because I don't.
Because you're going forward,
Yeah, it's something that happened in the past. I would say Mike knows, and if I've always been like, my mom's around. All you guys know my mom,
Yeah.
and she'll
Yeah.
tell you the shit that I did, and I'm not proud of it. But it was what I was. That's how I grew up, and from an early age. So both parents are not around, and I'll tell you some humbling stuff. Just going to elementary school, Father, Mother Day, or whatever. Mom's working all day. Dad can't be around. There's all these events. They're never around. They can't go. One's doing drug or selling drugs. The other one's got to work all day to put food on the table. So those days suck. They're in your mind ingrained. Then growing up further, my dad brought over a couple of people, which now back then there was no such thing as a cartel, right? Nobody knew what that was, but it was around even in the 80s. So growing up in LA, if your family was illegals, you weren't treated the same way as an American born kid. So all my family they were trying to bully them in the neighborhoods.
Gotcha.
So we dealt with that also. So we pretty much became our own everything,
Right.
from the cartel to the gang to whatever. And so you see my uncles out there fighting, things like that. So, and with that comes weapons. That's just how we grew up. And like I said, there's a lot of stuff that I did that I'm not proud of now, but at the time it seemed like it's the shit we needed to do to not only protect ourselves, but also take
Survival.
over
survival of
territory.
the fittest.
So put that all together, and then having a kid at a young age, that was the turning point for me.
How old? 16, right?
Yeah, she got pregnant when I was 15, and then I was 16. My first daughter, JJ, was born. But I'm still doing shit or whatever, and I can't remember who told me this, but it was from her family side. So we went to Arizona to get married, so I could be emancipated and actually get our own apartments and all that, because I had money. But I couldn't move around because I got to get permission from my mom. So that's what we did, and now I could get my own place, buy my own cars and everything. But it's still dangerous to the point where, so my dad would bring the cars, park them at my place. They're full of whatever is the shipment that week or whatever. I'm holding the cars, and I got to protect those cars, whatever. And then they get moved around. So I was a target. So with that comes protection, and shit happens or whatever. But then I'm just trying to figure a way out. And Dad went to prison, kind of dried up. And that was also around the same time when there was this in and out. I kept running past this recruiter, and they would always see me, and they would talk to me.
And then that's when you end up going to the
And I
Navy.
would say, no, I ain't going to the fucking Navy. I ain't going to the Marines. And finally, the opportunity was, like, they got housing over there too. Like, you only got to pay for it because I'm on everything. And I was doing fine. When I say I didn't when it dried up, it didn't like dry up where I was just broke. It was just, it went from pounds to now I'm back to selling back in the day nickels and dime sacks and all that shit. So, yeah, I took off to the Navy, but it was really because I needed to take care of my children and the family at the time.
Right.
But the humbling experiences were that it was not having a father around, not having a mother around, doing some dumb shit because I wasn't educated enough. Right? It's not that I was trying to be cool. Honestly, it's just what I was around, and that's all I knew. And the Navy was the way out. And even then in the Navy, I wasn't far enough from LA, so I got in trouble. And shout out to my wife now, Cookie. I got the, 40-day restriction and all that. What is it, 45 days? And she was there every day to come visit me.
45.
45.
Half must pay times 2.
Reduction in
Yeah,
rent.
man.
Been there, done that.
And I'll tell you what, and that was humbling because there was went to Key West, this guy, I lent him some money, didn't pay me back, and that's where my LA kicked back in. Went in his room, took all his shit.
Oh man,
Took everything he owned.
Thug life.
that's why you went up.
Yeah. I never told them the story. I just took the L.
Yeah, keep moving.
But as far as the command, that's also very embarrassing and humbling when it's like, you're a fucking thief and this and that. But I'm not that guy. I really am not.
You look like that guy though.
I will be that guy.
With your stereotype looks.
Yeah, so that's really what happened. The guy never wasn't paying me back and whatever. So I was like, all right, I got you, partner. And I took all this shit. And
I took all this shit.
and went and did my 45, and it's like, shit, this shit's ingrained in me. It's okay.
Yeah.
This ain't nothing. But the embarrassment of coming back and dealing with the crowds of people who were my friends and associates, and it's like, I can't believe you did that. I'm so disappointed in you and this and that. And I was like, fuck, you can't continue to do this dumb shit. You got to change your ways.
Yep.
That's it, man.
See, I had a similar situation, but I had like an opposite experience. So, when I was
So you didn't pay the person back?
no, what I'm saying
He's on the
is
other side of that.
I got in trouble. I got arrested after I was in the Navy and I had to go to Pennsylvania, face my charges, blah blah blah. But when I came back, it was like I was a ghetto hero in my society, right? In my circles, man, Rodriguez beat his charges, and then it just became something that's
ridiculous.
You know what I mean? That was the circle that I was around. When I came to the Navy, I surrounded myself around the same type of people I grew up with. Everybody was from Puerto Rican or from the hood, from Jersey or New York, and we just kind of gathered around the same type of people. So we had the same mentalities,
Yeah.
right? And then, as I kind of got older and now I'm in different circles, of course, that mindset was toxic, right? But you don't know that, like you said. You don't know it's just something like societal norms, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, that's just the way it is in the hood.
I think I mentioned to you guys, this was like a while ago, right? When I was thinking back on certain things, it's like things that you're trained to do in the hood. For me, you don't touch those shells on the floor. Never touch the shells. Like that stuff don't touch that.
You don't touch
Like the movies, you want to go see a dead body? Like that's the thing you do.
normal shit.
It's normal shit, kid shit back then.
Needles on the ground, like, you know what I mean, in the projects, you know what I mean, the corner, like crackheads, dope.
Yeah, and
doped
that's
out.
still going on
You
to this
walk
day.
by them. Every elevator smells like piss, right? Like these are just normal things that
Basic
when you're-
city knowledge.
Yeah, city regular city shit.
But
Yeah.
regular to us.
Yeah.
Not regular to everybody.
But
Yeah.
you know what I
mean?
mean?
Like-
That environment.
But
is
everything's
relative,
everything's in retrospect.
Yeah.
Everything for me is in retrospect. I think back and I was like, yeah, that was stupid. Yeah, what could I have done different? Why did it? And even to this day, that's why like all you guys are doing coaching and mentorship. I wasn't taught that. It wasn't, even when I joined the Navy, I was still like, mentor, fuck that, right? Like it was dumb. It really is. And that's been something that I've noticed now also in retro. Like Cookie had a mentor and she made Chief and she did really good. All you guys, right? So it's little things like that that I know that I'm going to change for not only myself, but the next generation. Yeah.
Everybody around you, Eric, what's South Florida like in the early 90s, bro?
That's North Florida, right?
I
Mid
was
Florida.
raised in Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, I was literally
Luke?
one of. I was one.
Don't stop, get it, get it. That's what I think.
I was like in my neighborhood. I was one of 3 white families, so like I guess it wasn't. I mean, it was middle class. Like everybody kind of same shit. Everybody was hood. Like I had cornrows, gold teeth.
My man.
Like
Did you put out any mixtapes?
Did
You
not-
know, there
I
was a
can't
little,
rap. I-
there was a little mixtape era.
I can't rap. I mean, all the friends I grew up with now are dead junkies.
Same.
But gold teeth is normal in Florida.
It is South Florida. Like,
Yeah, like that wasn't like you were like an oddball.
No, coming to the Navy was when it got weird because it was like you can't say certain things because you're white. You can't act a certain way because you're white. And it's like, all right, I'm not from Kansas, bro. Sometimes when I get really mad, it comes out, but I don't use certain language now, But a lot of robberies, a lot of home invasions. My house got robbed. Literally every summer, my house got robbed.
Jesus.
Some of the kids I grew up with, 10, 11, 12, had their fingerprints acid washed off. They're different down there. Like those kids, those kids are different down there. The first time I went to jail was 14, 2 counts of assault and battery. And one of the kids I was in there with, I was 14, he was 11, and he shot his best friend
Dang.
over some, I think it was like Pokemon cards.
Oh, that's
Like
wild.
that serious. He just went and got his dad's gun, popped them off, and you're not coming out of jail after that, bro. At least not for a long time.
Yeah.
Well, Florida has that, 2 strikes and then life in prison.
Oh, okay. Yeah, 3-strike rule.
Yeah, and if it's gun charges, it's elevated right off the rip.
Yep.
No, I mean, I did good in school. It was weird because I was super, super smart, surrounded by really dumb people. And when I mean really dumb, like my best friend that now, if he sees it, he sees it. He's a junkie. He dropped out of like 7th grade, 16 years old. Like there was kids in our middle school that would drive to middle school.
Yeah, there was
And
a
it's
couple
weird
of
to me.
those.
Yeah, that's wild, bro.
Driving.
And let me ask
It's
you
a middle
something.
school, dog.
What about
I had a Buick Regal.
how many middle school people, women or girls were pregnant? Was that normal?
A lot.
A
It was
lot,
very-
right?
very normal.
A lot. Me too.
Like, I mean, the gangs were like serious. Like high school was actually a relief because I moved to Daytona Beach. That's when I went to North. But I mean, that high school I got in one fist fight. But middle school was like you fought daily. We had 3 principals. 2 principals got knocked out, left the job. Our
I would too.
PE teacher got stabbed in the face by a student
In middle school.
in middle school. So we have watched people get really jacked up. One of the kids I grew up with, there was this one street right across from our middle school. Like if you were white, you did not. Like you just stayed off that block. Well, he went down that block and they took a boulder and smashed his face. And he had like 14 surgeries to put his face back together.
Damn.
Now the repercussions from that were immediate. That revenge, not from us, but his closer friends. They went and took care of it, but they went to prison for it. Daytona Beach is a lot different, though. Daytona Beach is like, go to the beach, smoke on the beach, sell weed on the beach. Never really... Daytona's different, though. You got rednecks, you still got like the gangsters, you got the bikers are huge in Daytona. But there I kind of separate. I didn't have any friends in high school at all. Like I just kind of...
But all these same places are changing. Like I go back, like Echo Park was a battle zone, and now it's the trendy place to hang out.
Well, like my neighborhood, that's where I took that picture. I mean, there were still the dealers on the corners. And we're talking 30 years later.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're still like, the one house I went by, the guy that continuously robbed me every summer, he was deported twice, and he kept coming back. He was a Colombian kid, and
You go check and whoop
still
his
lives
ass,
there.
son.
Like, dude still lives in the same
Just
house.
comes back.
So
I got people like that. When I go back to Jersey, I could go to certain people's houses and they still live there.
They live with their parents. and
Yes,
shit.
they live like I said, you know how people live basement, first floor, second floor, attic? They like upgrade. I live in the attic now, bro.
Not in the basement anymore.
well, that's the bad thing.
man.
Like I could honestly say
That was wild.
Moving on up.
Yo.
No, but they don't know. Like, I always say it, man. You know,
Well, how many people do you know don't even leave the state you're from?
Most
Yeah, most people that laugh
people.
because they snitched and they can't go back. They
Right.
can't show their face. That's one of the reasons they have to leave, or they were caught up in some way, go to prison, or just pass away or whatever.
Right. Like I have two
Right.
people that I grew up with that are actually successful in their own right. You know, but everybody else is just dead or still there and get found
Yeah.
on the side of the
Or-
road every
Or you
few
or you
years.
know what? They're just doing good in a job and then just move for LA. They move east or north where it's
Right.
cheaper, but
Right.
it's still there.
Right. But most people like I grew up with like never been out of the state of Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've never been to Georgia before.
But some people
Yeah,
probably
it's
never
crazy.
want to leave Florida. Like I know some people that never want to leave Jersey
I think
on
that's,
purpose.
But I think that's
They-
everywhere.
You
though.
know,
like
yeah.
most people, where you grow up, where you're born, you grow up. You, unless you want a better life or you're in a really good place. I mean, you're probably never leaving.
Yeah, for us, so I'm from North Carolina, but it was always like Myrtle Beach. Like if I could get to Myrtle Beach, and as a teenager, it was like I didn't care whose family I had to go with. If we had a baseball tournament, like my cousins
just
are
wanted to go
going,
to Myrtle
I would
Beach.
just jump in the car with somebody and go to Myrtle Beach because that was like the Mecca, right? And like here we are sitting, all of us just came back from Playa del Carmen this week, like and living just a whole different life. And that you said something, and then you kind of followed on to it without knowing that you did. But it's a lot about your perception of what's happening around you.
Right.
And I think that's a whole topic because I know I wasn't aware like that I could interpret how things are happening to me until recently. Like, oh shit, like that thing is happening over there, but it has nothing to do with me. Why do I feel attached to it? And I've kind of identified this edge of ownership where if I don't have ownership of it, if I don't have any control over it, and if it doesn't directly affect me, I don't give a shit.
We
Right.
call that the subtle art of not giving a fuck.
Shout out, what's Mark Manson, right?
It's a great book.
It's a
man.
great book.
It really is.
But that's what it is. Like I've adopted that, and it took a long time to get there. But I wonder, like, if I could go back, knowing what I know now, and go through those same situations, how different it would be.
Well, your friends would think you're crazy. First off, I mean,
Well-
Facts.
imagine if you were sitting with your friends that you had then. Like, there's a better way to think about this.
We're sitting with ghosts, dog.
Right.
I mean, realistically, like we would be
no
sitting with
shit,
ghosts.
I was literally that guy though. I always was like, I'm moving out of here. My life's gonna be dope. I'm doing something that's gonna
Nice.
be great. I was always like that, but I think it's just because of the track. Like when I'm 11, all my friends are 18 to 35. You know what I mean? My dad is the dope house. Like got rated and shit while I was in high school. So that was my environment. I just kind of knew what was happening and I had to get the fuck out. But that was after my mom gave me up. I went through foster care system, right? Like that's when I meet my dad. So by the time he goes to prison, I already understand that I'm on my own. I gotta figure this shit out. You know what I'm saying?
Wow, man.
So-
This is just wild.
But that's just what it was. So I was always and the main thing was I'm gonna go to the fucking NBA. I used to tell people every single day, I'm going to the NBA. I'm gonna play in the NBA. I love
Mike still
basketball.
plays like he's in the NBA. though. He be balling hard as fuck.
By himself, he be checking himself. What are you doing? Calm
Mike,
down.
Mike, why did you tear your labrum at a charity basketball event?
Mike going 110.
Exactly.
but I always like because I would idolize like athletes or musicians or anybody that was like living a life that I could imagine like that's dope. Like I know it's out there. How do I go there? And much like everybody in this room, the Navy became that for me. You know, my dad was locked up until I left for the Navy. So luckily, his ex-wife adopted me and put food on the table for a few years before I decided to leave. And you know,
I got a good buddy, Joe Carter. He's supposed to come down this weekend, and we would sit down on Newtown Road in our Mayfair apartments, and we would talk about the life that we are both living right now.
yeah, bro.
You know what I mean? And we like this is us 18, 19 years old, right? And me and him knew he's from Park Place, Norfolk. Okay. And we're, I'm from Patterson, New Jersey. We are on Mayfair Apartments, which in hindsight, I made it Mayfair apartments were like really, really nice apartments from my perspective at 18. Now when I look at it, I'm like, bruh, I lived there.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the same thing though.
Yeah.
I had the conversations about the ability to be highly successful in real estate when we were looking up penny auctions in my den back in 2008, 9.
It was 9.
You know what
yeah.
I mean? When I met Eric at work and was helping him with real estate, we spoke about it then. Like, man, this could be really good. I'm like, yeah, I can't wait to get out of the Navy.
Well,
I know it
yeah.
could be awesome, you know? And then we both get out and look what happened. But that's like a combination of vision and belief and execution. And so I always thought that way, but it's just now coming like really to life.
So what? I mean, I guess it could be a question for the room. Like, what was the switch? What day did the light switch? When did you realize it? What was the life event? Something happened that we all turned.
I would say it was 2 for me. I had 2 different turning points in my life. First was the birth of Elijah, right? That extra sense of responsibility, and me wanting to be there as a father because my father wasn't around. And then I would say after is when I came here and surrounded myself around y'all that opened to another world that I didn't know existed. So I would say it's 2 points of my life that were the pivot. Elijah, where I was like, all right, I got to be responsible now. That's when I started exploring other options, second jobs, blah, blah, blah. Taina came around, I need to be a realtor. And that's exactly what happened. You know what I mean? I was working at Ward's Corner, Citgo, overnight, wasn't going to do it no more, right? So that's when the realtor came, right? So those 2 events triggered me. And then, when I came around y'all and came here and got to, like, I always tell people, I was going to be the first Puerto Rican top 500 realtor. And then I went into the top 500, and there's so many Puerto Rican top producers, right? Because I didn't know, right? Like, you don't know until you're in the room.
Absolutely.
So that was my 2 events. Like, I wouldn't say they were events, but those were the 2 things that kind of made me pivot at that point in my life.
So I went on a listing appointment yesterday just to follow up what you said. And I've known the whole time this kid's in the Navy, like just whatever. He told me he was in the Navy. So I pull up in his driveway and he comes outside and he's wearing an Auto Bell uniform. Did you get out? He was like, nah, man, I got a baby on the way, working a second job.
Yep.
I was like, respect, bro. Like immediately, right out of the gate. Like, I appreciate it, man. Right, just right there. But
I got a few, man, to be honest. When I was in foster care, I went to like 6 different foster homes. And the last one I was in was this Italian family. They lived in Revere, right off Revere Beach, the first public beach in the country. It's right outside of Boston. And they were just such a loving group of people. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was dinner every Sunday night. The son played football at a high level. When there was banquets or whatever, the whole family went. I believe both of his sisters were the cheerleaders for the team. Like, they were, the dad worked at Avis, and I just remember like movie night and game night. And so that was kind of like set the stage, like, man, when I have a family, that's what it should look like. You know what I'm saying? And I'm probably from the age of like 6 to 9, I think I lived with them. I was in foster care from 3 to 9. I think it was 6 to 9 with them. I recently went to go look for, her name's Diane Garanti, to just thank her for that moment in my life. She had passed away. Wow. But I think I found one of her daughters on Facebook. So we're friends, and I'm probably going to shoot her a message at some point because like her dad and her brother were the first ever that I saw, like, that's what a man looks like. You know what I mean? Dude went to work every day. He took care of his family, supported his son and his daughters and all their extracurricular activities. The mom made, it's just like that's what a family's like, So that's where I got that first idea from, of like, that's what I want in the future. My mother got me back very briefly, took me to meet my real father, left me there, signed custody over to him, and then he went to prison. His ex-wife ended up adopting me. So those 2 women changed my perspective on like what love really is. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, fuck everybody. My parents hate me. Nobody loves me. Why am I here? You got to think like you don't even know what to think about life like at all. Because I went to the system because my mother remarried, and the guy she married was beating us and making us do some pretty nasty things. And my one full-blooded biological sibling, Nicole, my older sister, would be the only other human to really speak to that time frame. But it wasn't good either way. So those two women gave me hope that like life could be okay, you know. But that was rough too, though, because I'm like raising my sisters, and I just turned 12 years old, and my dad's in prison. He's a dope head. Then he gets out of prison, turns our house into the trap house, and goes back. And so that leads me to the next defining moment. I'm 13 years old. My father calls the house. I pick up, the joint. That goes through the tone, tells you it's a call from the state correctional facility, whatever. He's pending charges for a felony and the little drug ring that he was just running out of the house after he just got out. And he says, "You let my wife get with another man, bitch boy? This dude has not raised me at all, is a dope fiend and dope dealer, and is locked up because he can't get his shit together." And this is what he says to his firstborn son that he has no involvement in raising. So at that moment in time, I'm like, I'm gonna be something different. I'm gonna move real different. And then you were around for this. My biological mother, she found me through the Navy. I hadn't seen her again basically since she signed over custody to my dad at this point.
It's a long time, yeah.
I come back from deployment 2008. Her and her mother found me through the Department of Veterans Affairs. Reached out, and of course I'm like, hey, I'm married. I have a kid. Like, I have this career. Come check me out. She comes to meet me.
AJ was like
8 months old.
8 months old. Okay.
Andy's my neighbor. My biological mother starts fucking my neighbor for pills.
Not Andy.
Yeah.
Different neighbor.
But you know the
Different
neighbor I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know. Different neighbor.
So she's sleeping with my neighbor for pills, leaves the drugs on my floor where my 8-month-old daughter is crawling around, proceeds to look me in my face and tells me that I ain't shit, this apartment ain't shit, and she expected more of me. The same bitch that gave me up 3 times and didn't raise not one of the 5 children that she bared. So those 4 moments in my life.
Didn't you pay for her ticket?
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
I also paid for her to go back a day early.
Facts.
Because just like firing that client this morning, I don't tolerate unwarranted disrespect. So those were like the 4 moments. If anybody's wondering why Mike's got the motor that he's got, well, you just got a few snippets. I'm just getting started. That's the reality for me, and now they're both dead from heroin overdoses. So that's the next defining moment, because then that turned into me meeting my grandfather for the first time.
Right.
That's dope.
So, and even that, I walked in his house, he handed me a letter that my father penned to him just last year. "I'm sorry I never lived up to your expectations, but look at your grandson that I made." So he's like living vicariously through me. If you go look at my father's Facebook before he died, he put that he was living in Virginia Beach. So he was like just watching me, but too ashamed to try to even have a relationship with me. You know what I'm saying? But was bragging about me to his father to try to like,
Match that guy.
right. So that was when I came back with I got Coach Kathy. I'll double up with Coach Burt. And thanks for supporting me, fellas. Because I wouldn't be able to do any of that shit without everybody in this room. So
I want to, in the future, when we ever talk about this, to lead to your last story to be the Italian story. Like the Italian family, that was a really good story. It had me up. You know what I mean? Like,
you want to flip it?
Yes, because I was like,
No, I mean that's as you're telling the
well,
story.
you can still end it super happy, bro. Like, think about it. The woman that really took me in and one could argue saved my life, she just watched me at my wedding with my new wife, and
that's
she's
right.
super
True.
involved
Yeah.
with my children. And, they know her as grandma. I still call her mom. I just text her today, "I love you." Like, it's different for me, but I'm good with that.
No, I'll tell you. One was definitely my daughter being born.
Oh yeah, we didn't even talk about the kids, but
Yeah. One was her being born. 2 was actually through her family. Mark Weisbrod. That was his name. It's her. He's married to her aunt, but this guy taught me. They took us in for a little bit because I was trying to, while we were doing everything in Arizona, and this guy taught me about some money stuff, like how to really move, just be good, forget the 401ks, just everything else. And I actually got to see him at my daughter's wedding, and I got to thank him, which was great because obviously there's a strain there with the ex and everything. But when I saw him there, I got to shake his hand, tell him thank you, show my appreciation. Later on was I was working for this company called Garmin Corporation. This is after the Navy. And I was doing good there, doubled their production, and they gave me an opportunity. The opportunity was to start I worked on extrusion machines and I basically setting up the whole assembly line and starting the soft chew division. So it was just an empty warehouse and we made it into a whole manufacturing plant. Worked my fucking ass off for 6 months. Putting in those hours.
Careful.
Yeah, they get to make millions while I fucking on my back, right? Yeah. That's how I felt.
Now you got to go start over.
Coincidentally, that's when Cookie got orders to Japan. And that's also when that was implanted. Like, I ain't going to do shit for y'all unless I'm older.
Right.
So, and obviously when I met you guys, right, that was an opportunity given to me. But I would say those are the big defining moments that are like kind of curve a lot of my life. Where, you just get just educated and you know what's out there or what you're not going to do. That's it. There's more, but I'm cool.
You just want to cry today?
Right.
It's all right, man. It's okay to cry. We're not into toxic masculinity.
No, not at all.
Maybe Eric is.
No.
We got Eric crying.
Adam edited.
Yeah,
he was over there. Lip quivering.
I don't care, man. I love that shit.
It's real.
It's real, exactly.
Right, that's life.
That's real. Yep. No, I mean, I'll say for me, there wasn't really any specific defining moments per se, as it was people. I think there were kind of some significant milestones in meeting people in my life that just made a difference. So I had a coach, actually. It's funny.
Baseball?
Baseball coach, yeah. Listening to Coach Burt actually kind of had me go back and probably
because he talks about his...
Man, he got me. And there
he
was
a basketball coach. Right?
Yeah, he was a basketball coach
but
initially.
He alludes to his baseball coach when he was young.
Yeah. So I had a coach. It was actually basically like a second dad. My dad was a truck driver. He was gone 5 or 6 days a week. Like he would leave on Sunday night, drive to Texas or Wisconsin or wherever. He would come back. He'd be home a night, maybe two. So he was never really around for any of my sports. But I had a coach, my best friend's dad. His name was Kurt. And he kind of filled that role for me. And going back through listening to Coach Burt, really, he was the one who taught me how to wrestle, who taught me how to shoot a gun, who taught me how to do the manly things. And it wasn't because my dad wasn't manly. He was just out working, providing for our family. He just wasn't there. But like, man, I would live at their house the whole summer. Like every summer, every Christmas break, even to the point like I moved out of my parents' house when I was a senior in high school and moved in with them. Like it was legit. They were family. When I was homeless, they took me in. So he really defined my life at an early age. Which alongside of that, his son, also Kurt, my best friend, is who I lived with before I joined the Navy. So my friend Kurt and Matt, we had a house together before I joined the Navy. Both of those guys are dead now. Kurt died actually. Drugs eventually took his life, but it was an 18-wheeler that hit him because he was fucked up walking down the highway. Like, yeah. And then Matt was my other friend who died, but in a work accident, so not drug related. But anyway, so he was one. Noah, my son, coming along. I was still doing a lot of dumb shit when I was a young parent. So I can't say that he changed exactly who I was, but what Noah did for me was made me care about someone other than myself. And opened that side of kind of my heart, my emotions, and who I could be and what it tied it to. And then that's shortly before Noah was born is when I met you, and you're one of those people in my life. You've done a lot of things that have changed. This is why I said it was okay to get emotional, right?
Dude, we got a winner.
Yes, it's been a while. No, but like meeting you in 2007, I didn't know. Honestly, when I met Mike, I was like, yo, what the fuck is this dude's problem, bro? Like, I swear to God, I thought I was going to have to fight him.
That's everybody.
I'm thinking to myself, like,
straight Dayton to Xenia peddler
yeah, bro,
experience.
like, I swear I thought Mike was smoking weed trying to get kicked out of the Navy every day back then, bro. He was just a different person. And
I went through some rough times, man. So Kim, actually, at that time when you had met me, she went to prison. So my pops was in prison, and then shortly after I joined the Navy, Kim went to prison. So my sisters had nowhere to go. I was trying to get kicked out so I could go take care of them. But my Flowers on Sunday little campaign I'm doing, the first one I did for Jeff Cook, my first chief in the Navy, he was the one that looked me in my face and said, what the fuck are you going to do, go home and sell crack like your dad? Yeah. He said, why don't you stay here and set the fucking example, young man? That was my Navy chief experience. That's why it was so important for me to put that fucking cap on. Yeah. Nothing else mattered. That same man put the chief hat on my head. At that moment, my Navy career was over. I had nothing else to prove to anybody. You see what I'm saying? Nobody really knew that but me. You know what I mean? But that dude really, that's another defining moment. Like, that's somebody that changed my whole outlook on life. But that's, Kim was locked up. Kim's OG, bro. She been through some shit, you know. But so for her to be involved with the grandkids and still taking care of my sisters and being involved in their lives, it's a big deal, man. Like that, her coming here for that wedding, that was a special day, you know. So.
Yeah. Well, and back to that time in our lives, that was 2007. We had 9 people living in a 2-bedroom apartment on West Little Creek Road. Including Mike and his then girlfriend sleeping on a futon mattress that we folded up and tucked under the dining room table. Actually, it was under the pool table that we used as a dining room table. Like, it was thug, bro. It was ghetto as shit because we were all E4 and below. Nobody wanted to live on this ship. Like,
that was the new town.
Everybody was trying to avoid getting married. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And you know, I didn't know it when I met you that we would have this kind of relationship years down the road. Even the person who introduced us, I don't have that kind of relationship with anymore. So years went by. We met Carl. You know, that was a big push to get us into real estate. And then that kind of spun the whole thing. But even that, like Humble Beginnings, where it comes from is we were both working part-time for a jackleg contractor during our Navy time
to take care of the family.
To take care of the families. Absolutely. We both had part-time jobs. We would ride to work together, like doing construction until 3 o'clock in the morning because we knew the contractor couldn't pay us until the job was done because he ain't had no more money because he spent it on blow. Like, it was like the struggle for real.
For sure.
And then my wife. I mean, I think all of the things that led me up to where I was in life when I met her just prepared me. Like, I don't know, because the person that I am today, I definitely would not be without her. That's 1,000%.
I think everyone in this room has to say like that same thing. You know,
Facts.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, I think we would all agree with that.
Oh, dude.
But what I look back to is, like, not only had I failed at real estate, when I met Stephanie, we started dating July 4th. I got fired from my job August 17th. So, like, we're 6 weeks into a relationship. I had already moved out of my apartment. I had already moved out of my apartment because I was taking a job in Charlotte, and I was just waiting so I could move and get my shit there. Didn't even have a place to live. The day before my 30th birthday, I got fired. 6 weeks into dating this girl, I was homeless, and my fucking car broke down. And she held me down. 6 weeks into a relationship, she held me down. Very soon after that, I moved into her house, and then she fucking didn't even co-sign to buy me a car, just bought me a car. Like, you don't even need to put your name on it. Like, I'll finance it, just make the payments type shit. Like, held me down for real. And I think trying real estate multiple times and failing, it was just having that structure, that support system, that knowing that she's got my back and I'm not going to fail. Yeah. Changed the fucking world for me.
The only reason I could keep doing real estate when I went through all my stuff, the divorce, the ex, the Navy, is Eric. I've slept on your floor. I slept on his couch.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, when you're talking about humble beginnings, like, been through the top and the bottom all together here. You know what I'm saying? And then now, this stage that I'm in, without Evie saying, like,
Go do it.
do that, I wouldn't be like pushing the envelope like I am. You know what I mean? Like I'm pretty crazy with, like, I know I talk shit about like the idea fairy, but I'm an idea fairy as well. It's just a matter of what I'm executing at that moment and how much can I fit into that fucking bucket.
Mine are always crazy, right?
But but again, he has somebody that can reinforce some of that crazy, because I know damn good and well a lot of what he's done is because Jackie has been behind him.
Oh, 100%.
You know, just like you spoke to Cookie and you could speak to Rebecca. So, does anybody want to add anything else? You got
The
a
idea
couple.
fairy?
You got a pivotal moment.
I mean, I got a ton of moments, man.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, like, huge in my life was when my parents got divorced. It took me from Fort Lauderdale to Daytona.
Which changed the whole landscape.
That changed everything in general, because up until I was in the Navy, I was on probation. Like, I wasn't supposed to leave Fort Lauderdale. I was supposed to be those guys. They got divorced. Then I said, cool. I don't like anybody, because when you would go from like the hood to Daytona, at the time Daytona where we lived was like, if you're a white, you listen to country music, you had boots,
So you feel like you don't fit.
I didn't fit at all.
Yeah.
Like, and then white guys wouldn't hang out with me in high school. Black guys didn't fuck with me because I was the white guy that's, you're a wigger. Like,
Oh, I know the term.
I don't want to say it.
I mean, but
Trust
that's,
me, I know the term.
that's what we were called. You're
Dealt
like,
with it every day.
you know, and
Yeah,
so
that's
I
a
was like, you know
fact.
what? So I got real, just I shrunk in. You know, I like just disappeared.
Yeah, it like wasn't always accepted for us to
Right.
like hip hop and basketball. And,
You're
you know,
definitely not
like
like that.
not like 2024, man. It's different
Now
out here
we're
now.
good. And then my grandpa, on my 18th birthday, told me I wasn't shit. Joined
Yeah.
the Navy immediately. Like, I left that dinner. Didn't even get to eat my dinner steak, my birthday steak. You know,
Yeah.
I was pissed about that, by the way.
Still pissed about it.
Still pissed.
Wait,
About it. When I see him again, I'll
When
We'll
did
talk
you
about it.
when did you decide that it was going to be real estate?
It was always real estate, right? My first command, I had a bunch of buddies that lived with me.
That's a
Same.
great question. I love that question.
Right?
But it was always real estate for me, right? Like, we all lived in an apartment at Mariners Cove. And funny, I sold all of them a house since then. But we all
As you
lived,
should.
He was just planting seeds.
we all
As you
lived in this
should.
apartment together, and you know, I was like, man, we could do something so much more than the Navy. Now, granted, those guys are all officers, chiefs. They've done well in the Navy, and they're like, Eric, what are you doing? And I was always the guy that I would work hard. Don't ask me to do a collateral duty.
He said, "I'm here to do my job."
But I had kids like right after my first deployment, so it was like I didn't have time. Like, I missed Brandon's birth.
Yeah.
Like, the first time I held him, he was 2 months old.
Right. That's
So I didn't get to
just
see
like I
him.
missed AJ. Yeah.
Obviously, the divorce, meeting
Yep.
you know, you sold us that house, and then I got divorced, and I was like, and that's when we originally talked about real estate, like getting into the industry was
Yeah.
was that point. But there's still
That's when we met. When
That's
you
when we-
bought that
me and you.
house, yeah.
right.
Who's got the divorce ribbon?
Everybody, I think, right?
Everybody
No?
does.
Well,
Andy.
I just know that when we're talking about defining moments, that's one thing that definitely. Dwayne Jenkins asked me on this podcast, "You got a chip on your shoulder?" I have chips that you could not imagine, bro. And one of them was going through that divorce. That made me level up every aspect of being a man in every way. You want to talk about humbling? That's probably more humbling than like my childhood, because I was at a point in life where it was like I felt untouchable, bro. I did.
no, my divorce
and then
kinda-
it was just like explosion.
My divorce like really messed me up. Like, bam, fucking everybody jokes him. Like, he came and pulled me out of bed, just surrounded with liquor bottles.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care. I wasn't going to work. Like, he's like, yo, bro, you gotta come to work, man. Like, what are you doing? You know.
But-
and then go ahead.
No, I'm sorry, but yeah, no, I think it does fuck you up because, again, in retrospect, right?
Looking at
when
the
I was
humble
my dad got murdered and I was getting a divorce at the same time, and my life was fucked up.
Right.
you got to grow through that.
But I didn't
You
know
know?
that. You know, I was just
Right.
acting different.
You kind of go through the stages of it, right? Of grief, anyways. You know, like, I went to alcohol. I was like, you know what? Screw this. I started hanging out all the clubs.
Yep.
For years, it was just like,
Changes your focus and your
Right.
energy, man.
and then I met Jackie. You know, obviously that kind of changed things. I was still on the wild side even after meeting her.
I'd like to think I've had something to do with taming you a little bit. I always tried to be the
Yeah.
good friend out in town.
Right.
Like, hey,
Yeah, like, you
you know,
should
maybe
probably
we
stop.
should chill out. Maybe we should go back to the crib. Maybe, you know what I'm saying? Like, because it's hard to manage a friend that's going through something like that.
Right.
Because none of us in here could like tell the other person what to do. We're just gonna do whatever the fuck we want, right? So I mean, right?
You're right.
But that was always hard. Like, damn, bro. Like, all right, we're gonna pack it in this time. Let's get out of here. You know.
But I mean, getting that license, still drinking all the time. Like for a while, I was,
Oh, then he had money.
bro. And then I had money, and it became a problem.
I had to go
right?
through the
Yeah.
flex phase too. You know what I mean?
Then the DUI was like huge
Back
in my
then,
life.
yeah.
Yeah, mine too. My
Like, it was
DUI
huge,
fucked
man.
me
Because
up.
like, and then everybody was like, "Well, you could just get the breathalyzer in your car. You're fine, dude." Like, no. Like when Michael was driving for me, and bless Popa for doing that for me. When he dropped me off, if I had to get cigarettes, I walked to the gas station. When I had to go to the gym, I jogged to the damn gym. I did not drive my car for a year.
I registered everything on their cookies day.
But no, like I wanted, like, and everybody kept asking me why. Like Jackie would like, go get the. What are you doing? I was like, this has to be painful for me to change.
Right.
Like I have to go through this my own way. Like nobody could tell me how to manage this DUI,
I remember I gave you a couple rides to that
Yeah.
spot.
and that changed a lot. You know, and she's really the one. Like, you know, get your shit together, or
Yeah.
I'm out, and you could, you know, explode yourself, do what you got to do. you
Right.
know?
I think this company too has had a large part of like us growing up.
I
You know
think
what
all
I mean?
of us at this
Like,
point. I mean,
yeah.
for sure, we were just selling houses.
Now
Running a
you've
team.
taken on so much responsibility that
It was so
you
much
have
easier,
to,
bro.
You
Life
have
was-
to. You have to be
Yeah.
that example now, right? You have to really practice what you
100%.
preach. You have to lead from the
Well,
front. You have to.
and you got to watch what you say.
every day.
100%.
Like that, I think.
Yeah,
that's
you're
where
always
I
in
try
the
to,
light. Always in the light.
Like you said at training, was that this morning? Words matter, man.
Words matter.
You know.
Well, even one thing that did happen, we were living, this is me and Cookie, we're dating, but we're serious.
Exclusive, is that what they call it?
Yeah. But
Yeah.
even to
dating
the
scene's
even to the
weird.
point where I'm in uniform pulling a gun out on a guy.
Oh yeah.
But he came up to me with a knife. But he's trying to be a gangbanger,
Well,
and
you're
I'm
an
like,
upper.
you don't know who you're messing with, right?
You'd be justified then.
I mean, I'll say me and Mike took some rides down 95.
Just
But like
shoot
but like
anybody,
think
bro.
about that. I'm
Don't
in
shoot
the
anybody.
military, still trying to be a little gangbanger, right? Or to
Well,
an
it's
extent.
And everybody, if you've been on a big ship, or I mean, I don't know if it's the same on small boat. I've only been on the big ships,
Yeah.
but that's like a rolling prison. Like,
Yeah.
Dude, there's some,
100%.
I tell people all the time.
exactly what
do
it
not
is.
get it twisted. There's some straight certified gangsters in the military.
Yeah.
Oh, two of
Bro,
my best
don't
friends from
get-
high school, bro, got federal charges for running drugs across state lines while they were
Yeah.
on active duty.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I remember when people would come in and be like, well, the judge said I could serve my sentence or serve my country. You remember that little stretch? There's like people that
Right.
they
They were
put their
putting
crimes away to
criminals-
go serve in the
Putting
military.
criminals in the military.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
don't
Well,
be
but that's-
confused.
well, and that's like what's bad about that is that's like society's view on our military, right? We're like we couldn't go to college. I mean, a lot of chances it's pretty accurate. You know, a lot of the
Yeah.
misfits.
Well, but here's the thing.
Go there,
though.
but-
if you think about the people who joined the military, right, like in the basic sense, I would say 90% they didn't have other options, right? Because if you did, you would probably explored it.
Right.
There's the
Yeah.
very few. This is pre 9/11. 9/11, I would
changed
say,
things up for sure.
triggered some patriotism, and there would have been an influx for that period. But most people, when they're joining the military, that's just the best option for them.
Yeah, college paid housing.
Tie it back
yeah.
to the humble beginnings, though. Everybody in this room has hopped off that bus
Ooh.
and been humble real quick.
Ooh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Listen to me. I tell people, I felt
You get dropped off at boot camp, world's
Oh,
real different.
So,
I always consider myself pretty intelligent. I did great in school. When I got off the bus, I forgot my social security number. I was immediately that guy. I was like, "What the hell is going on? What's your social?" I'm like, I don't know.
You know what?
Get
I
over
was-
there. I'm like, why did I do this?
I think to an extent,
I mean,
I like
I-10
yeah, it
number,
was
my
definitely
I-10.
different, but that's like that that Mexican Sureño ingrained in me. Like we're on the fucking program.
Yeah.
So I took it well,
Yeah.
but I also laughed a lot of. Like I remember once I was just
I got in
joking.
trouble for laughing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got in trouble, and then they're like, everybody's now doing exercises, and I'm doing push-ups, like
Yeah, no
laughing.
problem. Easy
the
day,
fat
bro.
guy, the
Yeah,
fat
yeah.
guy across me, he's like, Edgar, this may not hurt you, but
Please
it hurts
stop.
me, and I just,
He starts laughing at
I
him.
just
my
laughing so
God.
hard.
That's
So
Yeah, he
that's
was that
actually that you asked Eric the question about when did you know it was real estate. Boot camp is actually when I knew it was real estate. So my my drill instructor, RDC, Senior Chief Michael Newman, still fucking remember him, set us all down one day and he said, guys, today I just put $1 million in the bank. And we all went, what? Senior Chief, he'd been in 24 years. He said, I just put my last house under contract. Every year, everywhere he had been stationed, he had bought a house
Oh, okay.
shit.
and sold all of them when he was about to retire.
Yep.
Great Lakes was his last duty station. He said, I just sold 4 houses today. I put my 5th one under contract to be sold. I'm putting $1 million in the bank and I'm walking away from the Navy.
Well, and to think about that, it's funny. 'cause
Wow.
And I was like, yo,
That's-
I want to do that.
That's
bro.
proper VA home loan
Yeah,
benefit investment
1,000%.
use.
And from that day on, I was stuck. I didn't know how I was going to get into it. We didn't know how we were going to make it happen. But I knew real estate was going to be in my future somehow.
Well, it's funny because me and him served with a supply officer. What was his name? Lieutenant Dang.
Yes, that's right.
Lieutenant
At FRC,
And
he was working in supply at the
He was
time.
supply.
in the
And-
aviation supply
he was actually looking to hire one of us in the smoke pit one day, like
to help him find rental property. Yeah,
who could do this, and then who could help me pay my house.
remember
And then
that.
we got in this conversation, and it's funny. Right before I got my license, the Commander Dang came through Bahrain, and he was like, "Oh, how you been?" Like we started chopping it up. And he's like,
Yeah.
"I'm retiring. I'm selling my portfolios off," and he did the same thing. He bought. His first tour was in Japan, so obviously he didn't buy anything there, but he stacked
Yep.
all that money from Japan, and came back. And every duty station he bought 2 or 3 houses. And he was like, "I'm retiring. I'm gonna sell my houses and play golf." And I was like, "Well, I own a couple now too. I appreciate it." But we sat in the smoke pit daily.
Yep.
And talked
real
about it.
estate, business.
I had an LPO at my first duty station here in Norfolk. He had bought a house in 1992 in San Diego for like $85,000, and this was in 2006 or something, or 2007. He was retiring, and it was under contract for like $800,000.
Yep.
He had been making like $2,500 a month in rent off
Off
this
of
place
it
for
the
the
whole
last 18 years. Didn't have a mortgage and sold it for
Nice.
800 plus.
That's like talking like our people now. They don't know how important it really is. Yeah, I think there is people out there in the Navy who are still teaching their sailors, but like I just told you a story about my sailor recently. Like approved for BH, goes under contract, then they deny his BH.
Because
And it's
of,
like
I just had a guy under contract, great deal, getting closing costs paid and a grant from the state. His chief told him to wait until rates came down.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. So lesson learned here today. Humble beginnings are a great place to start, and you should end by investing in real estate.
I like it.
Please click the link below. Like, share, comment, follow,
Subscribe.
subscribe, all that good stuff. We appreciate you.
All right.